we have the most difficult section after lunch. So please be collaborative with us and bear with us. So ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to SUA and European Union for organizing this event, and the co-organizers, the Global Counterterrorism Council, and also the knowledge partner of Ministry of External Affairs of India. From UNODC side, the section is dedicated from promoting critical thinking in the digital age of fighting extremism. It's from my perspective, for our perspective, naturally relevant topic in an interconnected world more than ever. The level of access to internet, digital content creates both an opportunity but also a challenge. And this is the collective thinking that I have the privilege to be with 4 distinguished speakers around the themes and how basically in South Asia specifically, we can actually connect the dots on the challenges, gaps, but also promoting critical thinking. From what we see and the reality that you see, misleading headlines, harmful stereotypes, calls for violence online, digital space has become obviously a breeding ground for violent extremism. And of course, the media reports are showing alarming rises on those type of indicators. What is, from our perspective, particularly worrying is the misinformation and impact that has in different sectors of our communities and our societies. So our fantastic panel today has actually the challenge to dive into some of these elements linked with critical thinking, and actually especially giving people the necessary skills to have critical thinking, to have media literacy, to try to double check what they saw online, and especially young people, the young generation, to give them the tools to look at online content and maximize that opportunity for their professional growth and their academic growth and their social inclusivity. So without further ado, with the expression that I need also, besides after lunch, to maintain the timeline in the initially scheduling time that we have for this section, with my great pleasure, I will hand over to you, Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey. So looking forward to hear from you. Thank you. You have the floor, sir.
So we had 2 challenges to discuss today. First was the post-lunch session, how to keep you all awake and ensure that you don't sneak out of the 4 or 5 exits Amit has pointed out to you all. The second was, I think, the previous 2 sessions, it was very clear that the technology may not be able to provide solutions for online management of perspective in mind. I think it is best that we start working from the ground onwards, upwards, and look at this issue of managing extremism and that ideology which floats around online. Very interesting subject, promoting critical thinking in the digital age to fight extremism. Let me first highlight the contradictions of the topic of discussion. Critical thinking is absolutely on the opposite end of the digital age, where you produce people who are onto social media sites, loads of information coming, there is hardly any time to verify, critically examine. In last about a decade or 2, anybody who's holding a palm top, an internet instrument, or a mobile phone, his capacity to analyze any information has started waning. And extremism thrives on it. So actually, critical thinking is on one pole, and digital age and extremist agenda and ideology is onto the second pole. So how do you manage this? While digital space is empowering progress, science development, connecting people across the globe, it also has its dark side. The extremist ideologues use this data, which is generally harnessed by the government for the good of the people, to initially recruit susceptible and vulnerable individuals and through them spread that ideas across. And oh, by the way, they also use all these data and methods to ensure that they can trawl out the sane people amongst the society and ensure they shut up and listen to what is being put across on the social media sites and the digital space. So as we move on to rely on digital medium to impact knowledge today, the problem is the capacity to critically examine the information for its veracity has started waning down. There is no one to question actually what is coming onto the internet and to social media, onto this digital space. Whom do you ask a question? Is this right information? And the governments themselves cannot be the necessary provider of veracity of the information after carrying out analysis. Because lo and behold, we, and especially the youth and the generation which is most affected, has started trusting the governments less and less by year and year and by in today's environment. The Gen X and millennials who now populate the digital space at a very, very young age. In fact, there's going to be a time that they're going to be burned with a palm top, with a finger to keep on scrolling, or maybe with a chip in the brain somewhere to start looking at information to come directly to them. They are now being spoon-fed in an environment of digital consumerism, where ease of availability of information, travel, banking, food, shopping, all from the comforts of home. The compulsion to work hard, actually, if you look around, the newer generation is possibly going off. And with that, the need, our desire to think critically has been pushed down to unknown recesses of their respective brains. The second facet of digital world is that it is identified by short span of attention, interest, and therefore the content needs to be cryptic. It should be polarizing to seek your attention. If it is extreme, you will watch it. If it is not, you are possibly going to start skipping it. And therefore, irresponsible nuggets of negatives has more greater acceptability in the environment today. The digital age has started limiting our capacity to critically think. While on the other side, the digital age has also provided opportunity to the extremist recruiters to identify and target the youth brought up with the ideals, because today's generation wants to question the parents, authorities, and basically now time has come in terms of wokeism where parent-teacher guidance is abhorred. They don't like it. Entitlism is a norm, and worldviews without realism and experience of real life is built on narratives of digital space and quickly get entrenched to the young mind. And therefore, what can be done now? Okay, the another part is who's hit the most. I just identified the youth is the one which is hit the hardest. Let me throw a couple of figures which come out earlier also. 420 million youth in the age bracket of 15 to 24 years. Most of them have got a mobile. You walk onto any street, into a village where basic amenities may not be existing, but you'll watch somebody watching YouTube, group of young children sitting and scrolling data. So that's the reach to this young generation. May not have good quality education, but has access to data which is coming out onto the screens, which is available on the 750 million in the Asia Pacific region is the number of youth population between 15 to 24. And what's the strength, what's the population of Europe? It is 745 million. We have got a densest population in the worst possible geopolitical scenario environment, packaged in a very, very small area where most of them are being denied basic, good quality education amenities. This place is rife for being exploited by the extremist ideologies. While Europe may sit on the other side about 6 hours or 8 hours flying distance, but please remember, in this flat world, which the first world has got to the entire globe, everybody gets hit today what happens on the other side of the globe. So let me come, how can we manage? I'm a military man, and a military man has got different way to manage stuff. But on the other side, I feel any strategy to contest extremist ideology on digital space needs to have a fulcrum based on education. And I have a firm faith because having served multiple tenures, starting from Cambodia to our own countries in various counter-terrorism extreme environments, I still believe education has got a wave to handle extremist ideology, even on online, because one has tackled it successfully in number of ways. We need, and I think the first world, if it doesn't want the extremist ideology to hit, needs to ensure on a couple of issues, and that is the poor teaching standards, poor quality of teachers, rote learning, substandard monitoring governance system of education that paves way for extremist ideology needs to look very, very deeply. I think spending money on anywhere else is waste of effort because another decade or two, I think you will find challenges coming home in much better way, in much more stronger manner. Dated curriculum, particularly to the poorer and fringe society elements that form the majority in poorer and backward communities, allows extremist ideology to fester. I think world should unite to provide monitored, quality, inclusive education based on art and size. Investment in this reform to enable critical thinking will be the first step towards defeating extremism and preventing its future spread through vulnerable societies, online or offline. The second facet and line of operation I'll recommend is digital literacy in entire spectrum of education. Digital age is an accepted reality. We can't roll it back or stall it. And so is dark exploitation by radical fringe and extremist forces. It is imperative that digital literacy for critical questioning of online content and protection from harmful content, direct or nuanced. I must again repeat here a point. You can monitor disinformation, you can monitor misinformation, you can monitor fake information, but you can't monitor the nuanced information which is done by profiling and changing the behavior of people. I think this point got discussed in the previous session. Should be part of education at all levels. And in that, I think there are three segments which needs to be hit by this online education system, digital literacy. The first is the kids who go to school-going children. The entire education system needs to get tied in to teach the students what is happening, how to be aware, what to bring notice to the parent, guides and children. Because it was highlighted very clearly. A 14-year-old child is downloading content which is harmful which the parents did not know. The second segment is required to target college and students, youth who are going to colleges and universities. It's a different set of curriculum which has to be designed to train and educate these young generation students at 19 to 24, 25, very, very vulnerable age. This is an age of questioning authority, questioning government, questioning parents, going woke. You need to try and educate them what is coming on online needs to be brought to the notice, how to monitor, how to analyze, how to understand what is right or wrong for the community, for the society. But third and very important, which you forget, is also the elders, parents, seniors, who possibly are unable to understand what is happening to the children. We need to have community-based systems to teach the senior lot of people also to understand what the children are watching, downloading, understanding, going through online, and therefore shape a holistic society which targets the three elements for education. One part what a lot of people don't understand is that fringe elements, extremists, radicals, get space when you give them space. And the fourth line of operation I'll recommend is you must plan for an aggressive contest online. The moment you, and I can give you a number of examples, practical examples. In Kashmir, there's an operation going on next to a masjid. When I was the boss of that area, and suddenly what happens is that a very prominent influencer posts a picture of Quran with blood splattered on it and says that Indian Army, Indian security forces have disrespected Quran. But as one of the questions came out from an IPS officer, our analysts were watching. We knew this will happen. And the moment it came, the search engines went on, and we found this picture was from 2017 operation something in Syria. And thereafter, there was a system in place to contest. And eventually, we reached out to the police, an FIR was lodged, content was spread, and we were able to contain the damage. So we need to have a system to aggressively contest the content which comes out into online. And as the time has come to close, I'll just wind up by saying that it's a multi-stakeholder situation. And therefore, be it the tech giants, the app developers, the governments, and bottom upwards, the society, everybody needs to be taken on board. If you wait for a decade, I think the problem will get out of hand. But if you start today, possibly we will be able to handle the situation and train our future generation to manage content online. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Pandey, for guiding us through from the initial dichotomy that you mentioned on critical thinking, online content, bridging that gap, and highlighting also that we need to build safer cyberspaces and violent extremism proliferating in the same spaces, and also the echo on building social skills, promoting education as a tool to bring a new generation, and allow that immediatism that you mentioned, everything is with short time span attention, can have another layer of critical thinking around that. Thank you very much for that, and of course the echo also on the educators, because you mentioned this is not only educating the youth, but the educators, the peer influence leverage that you mentioned, so they have the right tools to do the critical thinking. I will maintain also the uniform angle and move to the next speaker. And I have the great pleasure to ask Ms. Maria Punak from the Estonian Police. The floor is yours, madam. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Maarja Punak. I'm a police officer. Have been a police officer for more than 20 years already. And half of this time, actually, I have been working as an internet police officer. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my work so that maybe you get the ideas how to implement that in your country or in your city or in your police, and maybe it's helpful. One point what I actually have to point out is that we also stole the idea. It's not Estonian original idea, because the Finns were first who did their internet police officers like unit, and we did it just our own way. So the idea is that you have to be in social media as a police officer openly available for everyone. Because this day we have been speaking about different tools and different ways how to collect data or how to analyze it or how to make assumptions, etc. But there are still the people who actually also want to feel safe. They actually have the information. They have seen stuff, but they need like a person or a place where they can actually send this information. So in Estonia, we have internet police officers for that. So that's me. That's my Facebook profile, and everybody can find me. And if they have questions about police work or they need some kind of help, then they can write to me or send letters and ask guidance. But this is the thing where it's easy to contact the police. So it's not all about really difficult topics. There are also a lot of really simple questions about traffic. But I have to point out that my male colleagues get a lot of more questions about traffic because still people believe that females might not know the traffic law that much as male colleagues. But it will change. So we have right now 13 police officers who are doing the same work. We are kind of like influencers because we are a lot in media. We post stuff in social media, and we are giving classes. We educate youngsters, but also elders, because we have a lot of problems with scams. And especially when Russia attacked Ukraine, then we have been dealing with questions about misinformation, disinformation, fake news, deep fakes, etc. So now, actually, we have already built this system that the police officer is visible, it's easier to reach out, and then if you see content which should be taken down or which is dangerous, then it's easy for you to actually pass it on to me or to my colleagues, so that we can say that yes, this is something what should be removed, or explain why this should be up there. It should be stay up, because there are also every content is not the thing what we have to remove. You can have your opinions even if they don't match ours, but your posts and tweets cannot be a threat to the public safety. So I am there to explain all those things. And especially when, let's say, propaganda comes, then we are the ones who explain in social media to people who use social media, and in Estonia most of the people are in social media. Then they will get the police opinion. They can always argue, we can have discussions, but this is the place where they see and get the answers in their own language. We try to be as simple as possible in our communication, so that everybody feels free to when they talk to us. And one of the biggest problem right now is that when 10 years ago, normal media, like newspapers, TV, radio, had a really high value in Estonian people's lives, then right now 56% of Estonians get their information from social media. So all the news, all the what is happening. So if we are not there to say that the news what you are sharing is incorrect or a misinformation, then the news will spread. And especially we like to be as proactive as possible. So about our work, about what police is doing, let's say on the border, when we close the border because there is a threat, or when we are doing some activities in the city, we post stuff before something happens, just to make people aware of the things, and we make it available to everybody. So, and when we talk about critical thinking and media literacy, then the police is not an educational place. We are not educators, but we work together with universities, with schools, and when they are doing projects, then we are the ones who are participating in. So we help them to build up games. We give them examples what they can use when they educate children, so that they will get information from us, but they will put it in a nice source that is useful for the children and teach them. Yes, so you don't have to do something yourself when there is already somebody who is doing it. Just support them, be there for them, and help them. And from the people who we are trying to reach, these are like radicals. Let's say the really green is like the right wing, far right, and the left one is the left wing. I cannot change the opinion of the person who is on the really right end or in the really left end. There are specific projects, but not as a public police officer who is kind of influencer. But I can influence the people who are in the middle, who are leaning towards radicalization, who are leaning towards different opinion, which can be hurtful, harmful. Then I am there and I can help them. Yes. Yeah. So and I can give them ideas. I think my time is already up. But yeah. So if you find this idea interesting, then start from the grassroots. Be there for the people. If people have the opportunity to give you the information, what they have seen or what they are afraid of, or something like that, because I get a lot of letters which say that I don't like the police, but this is an information for you. It might be useful because it's a threat. So be there, be available, have the open discussions so that others can read and learn by them. So yeah, I will end with that. Thank you for listening.
And thank you for sharing that with us, which is important to reach the young generation the way they want to reach. The young people don't want to have lectures. They want to understand how this impacts their daily lives. And the experience that you bring to educational sector with concrete real-time cases allows them to objectivize a theory why they need to think twice before acting. So I think this is a great value of what you're doing, and thank you for that. I want to inform you, not sure if it is of great value, but you have one more follower, because I just follow you online on your social medias, so you will see my name there. So with that too, and my apologies because I see the time is going short, and with my great appreciation, Professor Uzur Saran, tell us how higher education actually can contribute to this and your experiences. The floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. I think as highlighted, education at all levels definitely will promote better understanding and a better ability to deal with disruptive communication, right? See, if you look at the challenges, we can say higher education will help, but I think the bottom line is, it is the value system that the children imbibe at a very young age that has a huge impact on how they react, whether they are well grounded in reality or not, what values they have picked up. Many people who may be not living too much in the physical world, not enough social interaction among children of the same age, not doing actual physical activities outside, playing in the playground, doing some interactions like that in the kindergarten and those ages, and they spend most of their time maybe with a babysitter, and just it's the cheapest thing to do to give a tablet and the kid is watching cartoons on the tablet. But the problem is that leads to poor formation of social as well as values, right? So that's one aspect that society as a whole has to work on, right? Because, and then of course, we can add to that by providing them, both in the school system and in the higher education system, a broader array of tools by which they can evaluate statements that are being made on social media. The problem with social media is that, as General Pandey said, the design is to make it very, very visceral. Everything, you want to create an emotional reaction. Do not even get time for the brain to start processing the information and think about it in a rational way, create images, create audio, fake or otherwise, which will create an immediate reaction. And people will not even dig down deeper and say, is this really true? Does it make sense? Right? That reaction will happen first, then a few days later you may start having that thing. This is the core problem. And this is what the attacker is always trying to do. Take you away from rational thought to emotional reactions. Play on whatever your belief system, whatever your value system. So that's why I said the core, if you have a solid value system, well-grounded value system, then you will still not react in a ridiculous way. Right? And of course, the part that General Pandey said, that we need to be able to react by, I will not say just shutting down the communication, by actually countervailing it, by producing the rebuttal to it is far more effective, I would say. Because the communication will get through, despite all our attempts to control it. I doubt whether in the present media environment, we can always stop all people's opinions from being aired. But we need to be able to counter them rapidly, and that's where technology can also help. As the incident pointed out on the sort of wrong photo being placed in the context of the Quran, and you need to rapidly react. But if there are thousands and thousands of such events happening every day, then the ability to react fast, how much manpower can you put? So that's where you can bring in technology to assist you, right? The ability on one side. And the second part of the thing is what Maria said. If there is a place which is trusted. See, one of the challenges is that the modern media environment, many people don't trust media. They say, I believe this guy, but I don't believe this guy, because this is pro my ideas, that is pro the other guy's ideas. You don't have media, maybe 20 years ago there was media, which was generally believed to be truthful and accurate and unbiased, 20, 30 years ago. Today, the perception of the average audience is that most media, most government are biased. So the question is having a neutral, trusted party, like what Maria was trying to do by having a social presence of our own, by communicating in a fact-based way, by a real person there who's talking about real issues, how police really works. You try to build up some trust in the audience that what you're talking about, this person I can trust. See, if you don't have anybody you can trust, any information source you can trust, then you're more likely to be swayed. So as a society, we need to encourage. You see, what has happened in the media environment today is everybody is click-based, advertising-based. So even you cannot survive. Actually, unfortunately, newspapers are not able to survive on subscriptions. So we have this model where everybody is moving towards sensationalism or a lot of ad revenue from whoever will pay you, right? So you want to play some media. The reality today in media is, I don't know all the details, but many media outlets are like that. If you place a lot of ads with me, I will write a lot of articles favoring you.
Transformation in a value system, the role that higher education actually can do. to pass from an instant reaction that social media creates to a rational interpretation of what the people are seeing and doing. I have been a very straight moderator, so my apologies for the three previous speakers if I caught you slightly on the time that was allocated, but in the interest of time I pass for the last version, a very senior former state employee, Mr. Bhargav Mitra. Sir, you have the floor and give us a little bit your experience. Thank you.
And thanks, organizers. At the outset, as I have been listening to the very shared with General Pandey, that we may do 1,000 conferences, it doesn't make any difference to anybody. Unless every conference gives you a takeaway. We all know, we are all experts, we all are handling cyber terrorism, but the problem with the world is that we are not one step ahead of them, we are 2 steps back. We are only reacting. We are not being proactive. We do not know how to defeat them. We get hit and we try to hit back. This cycle is being continued. This cycle will continue for centuries unless we completely change our lifestyle, our style of thinking, and I believe that the policy of preemption is very essential for countering terrorism. Now back to my lecture or speech, whatever. An individual comes to accept violent extremism as a possible, perhaps even legitimate course of action, which may eventually, but not necessarily, lead him to advocate, act in support of, or to engage in extremism. Stumbling upon or intentionally searching for extremist online propaganda is part of everyday media reality. Particularly for adolescents and young adults, Islamist actors are among the principal producers of such propaganda material. During adolescence, cognitive representations and political schemes start to differentiate and develop. Islamist agents target these insecurities and developmental openings. They present their beliefs and ideologies as meaningful and identity promoting, offering answers to questions that interest many young people. Effective counterterrorism efforts are critical, but insufficient and without having an emphasis on prevention. Such understanding needs to be corrected. It is very important to understand why individuals are willing to give their lives to a violent extremist movement or cause, and working to address and mitigate the issues and grievances that push them in that direction. And these are critical investments of our time and resources. In order to offset the extremist and terrorist agenda, civil society practitioners must come forward to help out on social media by promoting messages of mutual understanding, tolerance, and diversity, and equipping people with knowledge to protect themselves. The aim should be to help people, particularly the youth, learn how to evaluate information, news and stories they consume, including on social media, to protect themselves from manipulation and possible recruitment by violent extremists. In this regard, it is important to target, and I quote, at risk, unquote, audiences and seek to intervene in a person's route to extremism before the line of criminal activity is crossed. Such corrective measures seek to reduce the appeal of violent extremism and build resilience against its influence and spread. The key methods to address this threat are awareness raising on the threat of violent extremism in schools, as our esteemed colleagues have pointed out, public information campaigns and community debates, inter and intra-faith dialogues, capacity building for teachers and community leaders in identifying and supporting those vulnerable to extremism, media messaging, alternative narrative campaigns, and community trust building with law enforcement agencies. The civil society plays a crucial role in a whole of society approach to prevent and counter violent extremism conducive to terrorism. The civil society actors are often well positioned, credible, and experienced in working with specific groups to help identify and address the grievances that make individuals more vulnerable to the influence of violent extremist groups. It is critical to evaluate how various forms of media and art could be strategically employed to challenge extremist narratives and foster a culture of inclusivity and understanding. Media plays a crucial role in shaping public perception and discourse. It is necessary to disseminate positive and factual narratives through news outlets, social media platforms, and multimedia campaigns for counteracting the misinformation and hate propagated by extremist groups. This involves content creation that highlights resilience, community cohesion, and successful reintegration of former extremists. Engaging journalists and media professionals in ethical reporting and narrative building is essential for amplifying voices that promote peace and tolerance. Artistic expressions, including visual arts, music, theatre, and films, offer powerful tools for challenging extremist ideologies and connecting with audiences on an emotional level. Art can transcend linguistic and cultural barriers, making it an effective medium for conveying messages of unity and understanding. Projects such as peace-themed art exhibitions, music festivals, and theatre productions can engage communities, provoke critical thinking, and inspire collective action against extremism. Educational initiatives that incorporate media literacy and arts education are vital for empowering individuals, especially the youth, to critically engage with content and create their own counter narratives. Media literacy programs help promote critical thinking skills, lend a hand of help to individuals in discerning biased or manipulative content, and fostering resilience against extremist propaganda. Partnerships with community organizations and grassroots movements can ensure that these efforts are culturally relevant and locally resonant. Challenges to these initiatives include censorship, limited access to media and arts resources, and the risk of backlash from extremist groups. Addressing these challenges requires a supportive policy environment and sustainable funding mechanisms. The more a counter message tells a story, the more it fosters recipients' identification with the content and willingness to consume further countermeasures and share them in their social networks. Counter messages created by former extremists are generally evaluated more positively and remembered for a longer time. Education in schools is a powerful antidote to propaganda. The formal learning conditions that school provides may enable a structured and targeted promotion of critical media literacy. Thank you for your attention.
To share with us, but also for sticking to your time so religiously and so accurate. So you facilitate my job significantly. Before I open the floor for any questions or any interventions that esteemed participants might have, picking a few new ideas that you introduced for this dialogue, the importance of having, of course, this intersectoral work to deconstruct the message online, the aspects of the community dialogues, building on informed communities to address some online, the role of civil society, the role of media to inform correct public perceptions, etc. So there are new layers that you introduce that build on some of the other elements that you have also put forward. So I'll open the floor for any interventions. If someone can get the microphone. If I ask you to introduce yourself, name, and to whom the question might be addressed.
Greeting of peace, this is Haji Sayyid Salman Chishti from the 11th century Sufi shrine of Ajmer Sharif in Rajasthan. Well, my question would be, of course, with Excellency Mr. Bhagat Mitra Sahab. You spoke extensively about the use of soft powers in terms of disseminating the negative narration and portrayal over social media and initiatives like that, having cultural exchange, dialogue, and breaking the stereotyping that has been created in terms of disseminating the extremist ideology. Recently, in January, during the 26th of January, India's Republic Day, French President, His Excellency President Emmanuel Macron came to India. Before he left, he was leaving for Paris. He went to a Sufi shrine in New Delhi here at Nizamuddin Aulia. And that gave a very positive message across Europe in portraying another face of Islamic spiritual traditions, where he sat for music, qawwali, listening, and even clapping. Those visuals were pretty unique for European audience. In India, we are accustomed to these kind of visit to the Sufi shrine, but that was pretty unique to European visual viewers. So what is your suggestion that shall on the policy level or the government level or head of states visits to countries like South Asia, in India or other South Asian countries, where these kind of integration can be shared to the European world or to the world at large? This makes a big significance.
If I may ask if any more questions while Mr. Mitra prepares the answer. I see Madam, please.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Sanju Gupta and my question is to Maria. Shall I ask now?
Yes, please.
All right.
Ask now.
So very impressive. I think I love this idea of cyber police. Two questions. One is that you said you have a strength of 13 people and you get about 10,000 letters or communications. Are you able to resolve them all, or 50% people say we are not satisfied with your answer? That's number one. And number two is you showed that you get to see the posts by left extremist groups or individuals as well as by the right extremist group, which I think is a bigger problem in Europe than even Islamist, extremist content. I'm aware of that. So what do you do as a police officer? Do you have the mandate to take it off, or what do you do really? Thank you.
Thank you for the two very interesting questions. Understand by that gentleman, wait a few minutes, or give the floor to Mr. Mitra, please. You want to start?
Being the guest, she gets the floor.
So about the questions, I personally, last time when I was like really active web police officer, right now I'm more in the communication bureau. I answered 2,600 questions. I answered like them all. Even if it's, I don't know, just somebody's opinion, I give the feedback so that we build the trust between the person who is asking. I also get, the first year when I started, I got like somebody posted a song on my Facebook that fuck the police. And I wrote down, that the music is good, but the words are bad. So I will leave it up till the evening, but then I will take it down because I respect my other followers. And actually there have not been any attacks anymore, those kind of things. The question, yeah.
Can I repeat the question? Should I repeat the
about the
question? When you see the content, the right extremist content and the left extremist content, do you have the mandate to take it off and to do what? Thanks.
Yes, we cooperate together with biggest platforms. We have like shorter, quicker ways to inform them if something needs to be taken down. But there are also, of course, disagreements, so that we would like things to be taken down, but the platforms say that they say that it's free speech, and that's it, because we also say that free speech is okay. So if we say that something is kind of like influencing youngsters in a wrong way and it's not taken down, then we just have to learn how to explain ourselves better to the platforms so that they would react. But we also need better laws about hate speech and propaganda, so it would be easier for the platforms to say yes to us, because then we don't have to explain that in a long way. I don't know if it was the answer.
Yeah, I got the answer. But my question again is, sorry if I'm taking half a minute more. See, in the meantime, when you have the content there where, because it's a free speech, so technology companies cannot oblige you or they take forever, to kind of, go through their own filters. But in the meantime, public is restless. And because you are cyber police, they are sending you post after post saying that this is ridiculous, it is causing violence or it may cause violence, please take it down. Then what do you do as a police officer, as a cyber cop?
So if the platform is not taking it down, then I will go to that post, I will go to that place where they are posting, and I will start a dialogue. So I will explain that from the police opinion, this or that is not okay to say in this free platform, and we will have a discussion. So I'm always open to explain why we say that something is harmful or why it's not a thing what should be available for everyone. So maybe it's just a nasty racist joke, but when it's too hurtful, I can still say I'm not like the true police, or I don't say that you have to always do this, but I give them idea why it can be like harmful. So I'm open for a dialogue with everyone, even if they are really far right or far left. I know that I won't change them, but it doesn't mean that I won't answer to them.
Very nice. Thank you.
The visit of President Macron was essentially, as I understand, was to reflect a feeling that communal harmony is still intact and thriving in India. At times you must find peace within yourself. And if you don't have peace within yourself, you are having conferences like this, because there's so much of disturbance inside. So a lot of people are being led astray. We have forgotten our beliefs, roots, the process that we grew up in. And that's what actually lets us go out of our comfort zone and do something which is undesirable. And that's what it leads, all these things lead to that. I can't say that this will be a format for future visits of the heads of state, but I think it was a wonderful gesture on part of the government of India to offer and for President Macron to accept. If it has helped somebody, the individuals would definitely know from within. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have that gentleman and after you. 1 second, that the other gentleman.
Yeah, hi.
First.
My question is for Professor. My name is Ashwani Bhatt. My question is for Professor Saran. Professor Saran, you talked about compared the media 30 years back and today. Well, the reality is 30 years back, there was just one media channel, primarily the state-owned one, and which acted more or less as a government mouthpiece. So I can safely assume it was curtailed information back then. Vis-a-vis today, we got hundreds of news channels, thousands of newspapers. Well, and they are a part of society. They can range, their leanings can range from far right to far left. And it's for us audience to decide as to sort of, it's overload of information as to, which ideology that we follow. And given that social media presence there and any disinformation on national media can be fact-checked. So while you were talking about misinformation, maybe unknowingly you kind of, sown a seed of your perception about media being biased. So if you can share a thought there. Thank you.
So, hello. Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So first let me react to your first statement. Yeah. That there was only the government media channel. Right? Well, fact is, Doordarshan was only 3 hours a day, and so nobody really bothered too much with it. The real news was available from newspapers, whether it was Indian Express, Times of India, Hindustan Times, or in Hindi language newspapers. And most of them were not just propagating government propaganda. They had a fairly balanced view, in my judgment at least. Others are present here who must have read the news 30 years ago also. So that's fact one, that I think there was a lot more editorial independence and a lot more not less dependent. Always a newspaper is a commercial enterprise. It has to earn revenue, right? The second part, yes, you have now 1,000, 20,000, maybe. If you look at all the people who have YouTube channels and things like that, there are a huge number of media outlets and a huge variety. So now I, as a consumer, have to choose which one I go to. And if they have 1 million consumers, they will go to 10,000 different outlets. So there are 10,000 real views of the world. There is no shared view of the world. That's where I will stop.
Last I checked, Indian Express and Times of India are still there even
Sorry
today.
to interrupt you.
Thank you.
So I've been said that I'm being a bad moderator. We started 15 minutes late, and we're gonna end up with a 15 minutes recovery of our time. Before I finish, and a question of courtesy, and of course, Lieutenant General, over to you, and then we wrap up this section. And thank you to all of you.
You know, we may find media houses compromised. They may be ranging from left to right. They sell narratives which are they are being told to sell. But eventually there is one thing very common, that they will also not go to one extreme or other. They are part of our society. So I have dealt with media for about 5 years very, very intensely. I find them as responsible as possible, right? There are compulsions, there are fringe elements, and the population also is very, very smart. They are also perceptive. The only unfortunate part of an online content is sharp focus change. So when there is a content being handled by a person one-to-one, that is the time the challenge comes. But when it comes into a media house, it's a different ball game, and one has seen they are very, very responsible. Right? I just want to rest in that. Let us not make enemy of media. They are awesome.
Thank you very much for the 4 speakers. My appreciation to the questions. I know that there might be more questions on the standby, but I need actually to wrap up this section. And a big thank you and a credit goes to the 4 of you that generated such questions and interactions. So thank you very much.
Hello. Just one point I wanted to add. At that time when the media is superimposing you, and because of your knee-jerk reactions, or what I call is the spinal cord reaction, it doesn't go to your brain. Everything is weight. There the only multiplier force is the personal touch. Everyone has missed. If there is a personal touch, Macron's visit was a personal touch. His visit was, if you think it was only through the gesture of the MEA, no. That was it. His brain, he is a young boy, young person. His brain worked. How he will take effect of that. So you see, there was a time when all educated girls and boys even from the Sweden, even from the UK, went to Syria. How the media could influence? Because there was no personal touch was lost, either anti or pro. There was nothing in between. Again, I would say that the personal touch is sometimes very, very helpful. What Mrs. Chisti has also said, and it is. And you will see that in that time of need, personal touch will only heal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with this note of a personal touch, allow me to give my personal touch, and thank you very much. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.